This is my Springfield Armory EMP3. In this video, I will be replacing the curved OEM trigger with this flat trigger that I purchased from Harrison Design. And this is a model number. Tools you'll need: a file, flat screwdriver, hammer, punch, and maybe some sandpaper. I'm using 400 grit. So let's go ahead and get started. To save some time, I removed my slide and my grip panels off camera. If you don't know how to remove your slide or your grips, this is probably not the project for you. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing we need to do is remove the retaining pin here. Get your punch. This is your retaining pin that holds the mainspring housing in place. There's your mainspring housing. Next, we need to remove our thumb safety. Just wiggle it up and down and pull away from the frame. Move it up and down and it comes out. On this side, on the left side of the frame, make sure before you completely pull the thumb safety out that you don't lose the safety plunger that's under spring tension. Once you remove the thumb safety, this will come flying out. So make sure you don't lose it. Just wiggle your thumb safety up and down and while pulling away from the frame. And it comes out just like that. And your grip safety also comes out. And as you can see, the safety plunger is still in there. There it is. Next, we need to remove the hammer. And you simply remove that by getting your punch and by pushing this safety, your retaining pin there. Just push it out. There's no tension at all. And there's a pin that's holding the hammer in. And that's your hammer. Next, we need to remove the disconnector and your sear. Same procedure, same process. Just get your punch and push this out. There's the retaining pin. There's your disconnector and the sear. Also, your sear springs out. Next, we need to remove the magazine catch. So get your small flat screwdriver, and on one side just depress this magazine catch here and turn it counterclockwise. And it comes out. There goes your trigger. Now your frame is fully disassembled. Now that we have the frame fully disassembled, let's go ahead and get our new trigger fitted into the frame. So grab your new trigger, slide it into the frame, As you can see, it's not going forward and aft completely and smoothly. So what we'll need to do is file some off the top and the bottom of the trigger shoe. So go ahead and put your frame aside for now. Get your file and shave evenly off the top and the bottom. Make sure you do this slowly. You don't want to take off too much, because if you do, then you'll have some play on your trigger and it'll move up and down. So we'll go ahead and just do it slowly and patiently. It's almost there. Just repeat the process until the trigger slides forward and aft freely. Okay, that looks pretty good. It feels pretty good. It's not getting hung up on anything. And it's sliding forward and aft freely, just like the OEM trigger. Alright, let me clean up my workstation, and when I get back, we can start putting the frame back together. Now that you're satisfied with how your trigger feels, let's go ahead and partially put the frame back together. So once again, grab your trigger, reinsert it into the frame. Grab your magazine catch. Get your flat head screwdriver. This time, turn the screw clockwise. Next, let's get the sear and disconnector back into the frame. Here's your disconnector. It has a pointy tip and a flat edge on the other end. Here's your sear. One end has a scoop. The other end has looks like 2 legs. So the scoop part of the sear goes towards the pointy end of the disconnector. Just like that. So the hard part is putting this retaining pin into the lower hole there on your frame, into the hole here on your sear and disconnector. Also, before I put the disconnector back, get your sear spring. When it's time to put the spring back in place, make sure the long end of your spring sits on top of the leg of your sear, just like this. top, not in front like this, but on top. Yes, no, yes, no. Alright, get your disconnector, your sear, put it into that hole there on the frame, and it comes out on top. The flat end of the disconnector sits on the back of the trigger bow. Get your retaining pin, put it on the lower hole. I usually use a punch, put it on this side and kind of just guide it in. It slides in just like that, and nothing should fall out once that retaining pin is put back in place. Next, get your hammer. Just align that hole with the upper, the hole on top there. And get your retaining pin. And your hammer should be in place once that retaining pin is put back. Next, we need to put the sear spring into the frame. Slide the notch here into that groove. Again, the long leg sits on top of the sear. For now, grab your mainspring housing, install it halfway in just to hold the spring in place, just like that. Put your hammer strut down. Make sure your hammer strut sits inside this cap pin, inside your mainspring housing. Just like that, it's inside. So now we need to put the safety plunger in. You got the shorter end and you got one solid longer end. The shorter end goes into the frame first. Next, we need to grab our grip safety. Make sure your hammer strut is in between, right in the center of this grip safety. Pull the hammer back. Now get the left thumb safety. This piece here goes into this hole. All right. It won't go in completely because the safety plunger is in the way. So just get something plastic so you won't mar up your frame, and push the safety plunger forward while you push the thumb safety into the frame. There. we'll put the opposite side thumb safety in a little bit. We just want to adjust the over travel screw at this point. As you can see, I'm pulling the trigger, engaging the grip safety, and pulling the trigger, and the hammer is not dropping. It's because we need to adjust that over travel screw. So once again, we need to disassemble the frame and get the trigger out. So I'm going to do that off camera to save some time. Okay, I got the frame disassembled again and the trigger's out. First thing we need to do is adjust this over travel screw. Some companies you can adjust it by getting an Allen wrench and turning this over travel screw, but according to Harrison Design, they want you to file it down. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to file it down slowly. You don't want to take off too much. And once again, reassemble the pistol. And once you got it reassembled, we'll go ahead and retest the trigger pull again. Okay, I got the frame partially assembled again. So let's go ahead and test out the hammer and the over travel screw. As you can see now, after filing the over travel screw down by pulling, engaging the grip safety and pulling the trigger, now our hammer can move forward. But as you can see, it's still getting hung up about your quarter cock here. So again, before it was just getting stuck here at the down position or the cocked position, but now we filed it down, the over travel screw, and now it's moving about almost all the way forward, and it's still getting hung up about a quarter cock here. So once again, just disassemble your frame again and keep sanding the over travel screw down until this hammer is moving freely from back all the way forward and it's not getting hung up about right here. Once again, I'm going to do this off camera to save time. Okay, now that I've got the over travel screw filed down where I think it needs to be, let's go ahead and test the hammer by pulling the trigger. Before you do that, make sure you don't let the hammer drop by itself without the slide installed, or you'll do some damage on your hammer and possibly on your frame. So disengage this thumb safety, engage the grip safety, and when you pull the trigger, make sure you walk the hammer forward and not let it drop by itself. Before, the hammer, it would just stay in place, it won't move, and then we slowly file it down and it was getting hung up about at the quarter cock notch here. Now that I've got it filed down, when I pull the trigger, as you can see, the hammer is moving freely and it's smooth. It's not getting hung up right about right here, or it's not getting hung up on anything right about at this point. And that's how you set your over travel screw. Just make sure it doesn't, you don't feel the hammer grinding on anything right about at this point, and it's moving freely. Alright, now that I've got that set to where I want it to be, I'm going to go ahead and reassemble the rest of the frame. Now that we've completed adjusting the over travel screw, let's go ahead and put the retaining pin back and reinstall the main spring housing. Once again, make sure the hammer strut is sitting inside that cap pin. Push down and insert the retaining pin on the left side of the frame. Get your punch. Now let's install the slide back onto the frame. Get your slide. Make sure your barrel link is forward and your guide rod is in place, sitting close to your barrel link. Get your frame, slide it on top. Get your slide catch. Make sure you don't scratch your frame. Now let's do a quick function test. With the thumb safety engaged, pull the trigger without engaging the grip safety. Hammer should stay in place. Engage the grip safety, pull the trigger, hammer should stay in place. Disengage the thumb safety without engaging the grip safety, pull the trigger, hammer should stay in place. Now engage the grip safety, pull the trigger, hammer should drop. Pull the slide back, trigger reset, pull the trigger once again, hammer should drop. It's a good function test. Next, all I need to do now is reinstall my grip panels. I got my grip panels back installed. Once again, it's a flat trigger by Harrison Design. That's your model number. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you found this video helpful.